Hello everyone, I'm Mario Nappa and I'd like to welcome you to the July 1st edition of South Leesburg Home Construction News. This ongoing series is your monthly source for updates on development, growth, and planning activity across the Leesburg area. New episodes are released on or around the first of each month and generally run about 10 minutes depending on the number of relevant issues from the prior month, and we had a busy month in June. Our first story comes from the June 9th Leesburg City Commission meeting, where a decisive vote was cast regarding the proposed Old Mill Subdivision located east of Radio Road. This annexation and rezoning request has been covered in our previous two episodes, but this meeting marked the all-important second reading and the final vote. Residents living near the proposed development raised continued opposition, citing serious concerns about the planned access road. According to maps presented at the meeting, the road would cut through a wetland area, raising environmental and property concerns. The developer's updated plan, presented during the meeting, showed a need to elevate the road roughly 5 feet to bring it above the wetland water level. In addition, an 8-foot retaining wall would be constructed on top of that elevation, positioned just south of an existing 2-foot wall built by the neighboring homeowners. The combined structure would result in a visually and physically imposing wall adjacent to the current neighborhood, something residents argued would diminish property values and negatively affect quality of life. Concerns were also voiced about the narrow, difficult to maintain space between the two walls, and a letter was mentioned that was sent to the Leesburg City Commission by Tim Morris, highlighting the sensitive nature of the plant life in that parcel, and the County Commission was not recommending approval. In a somewhat unexpected move, the Leesburg City Commission voted overwhelmingly against the annexation and rezoning request. The final tally was Commissioner Cannell, no. Commissioner Berry, no. Commissioner Bari, no. Mayor Reisman, no. Commissioner Peterson, yes. The lone vote in support. This outcome was somewhat unexpected, as the Planning Commission had recommended approval by a 6-to-1 vote. However, their recommendation was contingent on relocating the access road as far south as possible to distance it from the neighboring property, a condition the developer failed to meet before the City Commission's vote. The second major topic discussed during the meeting involved fire assessment fees, an issue with significant financial implications for the city. When the Villages of Westlake was first developed, the Community Development District, or CDD, that governs those 3,200 villages' homes within the Leesburg city limits adopted the same fire fee, $165, that the city charges all of its residents. Under the terms of that agreement, if Leesburg raises its fire fee, the change applies equally across the board. However, if the CDD decides to raise the fee independently and the city does not, Leesburg would be responsible for covering the difference. For example, if the CDD raises its fee to $170 while the city maintains the $165 rate for the rest of its residents, Leesburg would have to reimburse the CDD $5 per home, totaling $16,000 annually. The city's only alternatives would be to pay that subsidy or raise the fire fee for all of its residents. As City Manager Al Minner candidly put it, this is a case of the tail wagging the dog. This issue was presented as a preliminary resolution and no final decision was made. Further discussion and a formal vote are expected at a future meeting. At the June 10th Lake County Commission meeting, Commissioner Kirby Smith noted that Leesburg is now the 4th fastest growing city in the nation. That statistic will be included in a letter the Commission sends to Governor DeSantis seeking support for the additional infrastructure funding. As one of Florida's fastest growing counties, Lake County is struggling to meet its infrastructure needs, and the current metropolitan planning organization process is insufficient to address the scale of growth. Commissioner Parks expressed support for the letter but cautioned that the governor is likely to expect greater local commitment, both in terms of funding and support, from the counties and cities experiencing the most rapid expansion. At the Lake Sumter Metropolitan Planning Organization Community Advisory Committee meeting on June 11th, A representative from the Florida Department of Transportation attended the meeting and provided an update on the expected completion dates for the Turnpike expansion projects. The segment extending to Hancock Road in Mineola is now projected to be finished in early 2026, while the extension to State Road 27 in Groveland is anticipated to be completed in early 2027. At the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission reviewed a Planned Unit Development, or PUD, and commercial plan proposal for Kalos Services, currently based in Claremont, to relocate their corporate headquarters and training center to South Leesburg. The proposed site encompasses 90.28 acres on the west side of U.S. Highway 27, just south of the Florida Turnpike. While a significant portion of the property contains wetlands, the project engineers have strategically sited 2 buildings, including 32 apartment units on the upland areas. Construction will begin with the headquarters facility, with the apartments to follow based on future demand, particularly for employee housing. The project is expected to support 300 jobs, including the creation of 50 new positions. The Planning Commission voted unanimously 7-0 to recommend approval and expressed strong support for the initiative beyond the vote itself. The first reading before the Leesburg City Commission will be July 14th, and the second reading and deciding vote will be on August 25th. At the Leesburg City Commission meeting on June 23rd, one of the key agenda items was the proposed Venice at Lake Harris subdivision, slated for an 8.7-acre site located east of State Road 27, north of Magnolia Avenue, and south of Corley Island Road. The developer sought approval to build 26 attached single-family homes, each 20 feet wide, along with 21,000 square feet of commercial space fronting State Road 27. During the planned commission meeting and the first reading of the proposal, significant opposition emerged from local residents. Many expressed strong objections to both annexation and rezoning, submitting a petition with 80 signatures. Some of the residents who have lived in that area for over 70 years voiced deep concerns about the project's potential effects on wetlands, flooding, water quality, and local wildlife. Previous efforts to sell the property had failed largely due to the presence of wetlands. The land currently falls under Lake County jurisdiction, and many residents want it to remain that way. The Planning Commission ultimately voted 5-2 to recommend denial of the proposal. At the second reading, the proposal was brought forward for a final vote. The results were as follows: Cannell, no. Bari, no. Bari, no. Reisman, no. Peterson, yes. The lone vote in support. With a 4-1 vote against, the proposal was officially rejected and the land will remain undeveloped. The second item concerning South Leesburg involves the expansion of Bari Grove with an addition of Phase 2. This smaller adjoining parcel will add 156 homes to the 1,700 planned in Phase 1. Combined, Phases 1 and 2 will yield a total density of 2.45 units per acre. This was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission of 7-0. The vote in the from the City Commission was Peterson, yes. Bari, yes. Bari, yes. Cannell, no. Reisman, yes. The third topic of interest is the first reading of Margaretta Estates, located at the southeast corner of County Road 48 and Number 2 Road. This project covers 196 acres, 103 already annexed into Leesburg, and 96 proposed for annexation as part of this PUD. The plan includes 586 detached homes, limited to 2 stories with an overall density of 2.99 units per acre. Mitigation agreement with the school board is required, meaning the developer must pay for any additional school seats needed. The layout includes 3 sections, 5 parks, 4 ponds, and an amenities area. Lake Margaretta and adjacent wetlands in the northwest portion will remain undisturbed. The central parcel, designated as Lake County Rural Transition, is excluded from the plan. The top portion, also rural transition, will be reclassified as City of Leesburg Estate Residential. The county will require a traffic light at County Road 48 and Number 2 Road and roadway improvements along Number 2 Road, including 12-foot lanes and 4-foot shoulders. The PUD prohibits townhomes, commercial uses, wells, and septic systems. This property sits at the eastern edge of Leesburg's annexation boundary, with Yalaha just beyond. Despite this, the Planning Commission voted 3-2 to recommend denial, citing traffic and density concerns. A second reading is scheduled for August 11th, though that date is subject to change. For the first time in over 3 years, mayors and city managers came from across Lake County, and they convened to discuss the development of new joint planning agreements, JPAs, between individual municipalities and the county government. This county-wide meeting aimed to establish a unified approach to managing growth and addressing infrastructure challenges. The current status of the JPAs is that completed. Lake County and Groveland have recently finalized a joint development agreement in progress. Claremont is actively working with the county on a JPA. Preliminary discussions, Mount Dora, Howey in the Hills, and Leesburg have initiated conversations with the county. Key topics discussed: number 1, rapid population growth versus declining revenue. A major theme of the meeting was the county's accelerated population growth, which has exceeded prior projections. However, despite this growth, Lake County is facing a projected $300 million drop in reserve funds over the next 5 years compared to the previous 5-year period. This shortfall poses a significant challenge to funding needed infrastructure improvements. 2. Infrastructure funding and impact fees. There was a consensus that new revenue streams may be necessary. One mayor advocated for increases taxes or fees to meet the rising costs of city operations and infrastructure development, citing the rising cost of maintaining municipal services. The disparity in transportation impact fees was also highlighted. Leesburg impact fee is approximately $500. South Lake County impact fees exceed $2,000. Since impact fees must be spent within the district in which they are collected, raising Leesburg's fees may be a logical step to better fund local infrastructure. There is optimism that continued dialogue and more collaborative meetings like this one will lead to better coordination of growth and infrastructure planning throughout Lake County. Establishing joint planning agreements with all 14 municipalities will require a significant unified effort, but success is essential if we hope to guide development thoughtfully and avoid a future defined solely by unchecked sprawl and endless rooftops. Here are a couple items I would like to mention that are not part of any meeting. A massive new subdivision is one step closer to reality in South Leesburg. The developer behind Whispering Hills, a master-planned community spanning over 1,000 acres, has officially filed for permits with the St. Johns River Water Management District. The proposed neighborhood is set to rise between Dewey Robbins Road, No. 2 Road, Busby Road, and U.S. Highway 27, positioned right in the heart of Yalaha, Howey in the Hills, and Leesburg. Once built, Whispering Hills will dramatically reshape the region, which is currently defined by rural farmland and gently rolling hills. This development joins Hodges Reserve, another new subdivision already under construction on Dewey Robbins Road, making a significant shift in the landscape and signaling the beginning of South Leesburg's transformation. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops and bring you updates on the construction, including aerial videos. Lastly, it's important to note a key shift coming to Leesburg's political landscape. The 3,200 homes within the villages of Westlake now account for roughly 20% of Leesburg's total population. Starting next year, residents in that area will for the first time be eligible to vote in and run for seats on the Leesburg City Commission. This change marks a significant step in local representation, and it could influence the city's direction in future years. Well, that wraps up this month's update. Thank you for tuning in to South Leesburg Home Construction News. I'll see you next month with more updates on the issues shaping our community. Thanks for watching.